here. So Davina says, I've been sick for 2 weeks. The first week, my addictions were mostly removed, and I laid with so much feeling, crying, praying, etc. I thought I was well enough to go back to work, but I got unwell again to the point where I had to call an ambulance, and Shakti got me back into bed for another 5 days. I thought these 5 days were her wanting me to lay more and feel more. But instead, I'm returning to escapes because it feels so daunting to keep feeling. There's too much in here. I've asked Shakti to make me brave like Brent. Oh, I'm honored. The story of the agreement and your bravery to lay and lay is something I think about daily. I feel I've wasted 3 sacred days of my time off running again. I still feel so unwell to return to work, but I might have to push through anyway if she gives me some level of strength. I have 2 days now where I can try and live by the bravery of the agreement. Can you please share with us what motivated you to stay with stillness no matter how much it hurt? Yeah. Well, this is a very challenging time, Davina. So Davina is referring to a sort of a post that I had shared, which I called the agreement, which was an agreement that I made with myself during the intense purging and purification process of my transformation, my Kundalini awakening. And I still have this agreement in place in the event that further purging and purification comes up in my process, which it totally can. So the agreement was very simple. I said, I will stay in my bed, close the door, turn my phone off, I'll have a glass of water, I'll look around the room, remind myself I'm safe here. And no matter what arises in my bed, I will just sit with it. I will feel it fully. I'm not going to try and avoid it, run away. I'm not going to try and escape it. And I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm not going to bang my head against the wall. I'm not going to punch myself. None of that. That was part of the agreement. So I'm totally safe in there. My phone is off because I'm not going to contact somebody and blame them for whatever's coming up in me. For example, if I have something come up from some trauma from my childhood, I'm not going to call up my childhood friend and say, hey, you did this or you did that and cause chaos in my relationships. I said, I'm just going to lay in my bed. I'm going to feel whatever comes up here, knowing that it's not going to last forever. No emotion, thought, memory, feeling lasts forever. Nobody's ever felt an emotion forever, right? Nobody's ever gotten stuck in an emotional loop, right? They all are impermanent and shift and change. And if I'm in my bed, I'm safe. So all that's going to rise in my system is just some sensations. That's what an emotion is. Some sensations, heart racing, some tension in the muscles, breathing deeply, pit in the stomach, some thoughts, some visions in the mind, some memories coming up. I can be with that. It's all shifting and changing. I'll be with that. So that was the agreement that I made. And I made it with absolute resolve. Nothing was going to change that. The glass of water, I have a glass of water here. I just said, even if something lasts for 2, 3 days, I'll sit with it. I'll have my glass of water. I'll just keep sitting. I know that I can survive for a few days on this glass of water. So I'm not going to get up and, say, oh, I have to go eat and interrupt the process. That's my agreement. I never had to sit for 2, 3 days, but that was how extreme of the agreement was that I made. Mostly the things that would come up lasted, maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. There were some pauses, some breaks in between, but generally speaking, it was all fleeting and changing. And so um, this is like, it's not easy to do, but this was just, what's my agreement was, and this is what Davina is referring to here. So fortunately or unfortunately, I wasn't able to work. I was completely debilitated and just stayed in my bed, living with my parents. They somehow I said that they were hypnotized. They just didn't bother me. They didn't come and ask you, why are you just laying in bed for 6 weeks straight? It's like something came over them and said, just leave him alone. Just like waved. It's like the Divine Mother just kind of waved her hand in front of them and said, leave this guy alone. And then nobody bothered me and I just stayed in my room. So I can understand, you've got work, you've got, responsibilities, bills. And so you're kind of figuring out how do you do this intense purification, purging, and also go to work. So what I did, and I continue to do this, I just say, look, I see your presence in my life, Divine Mother, Shakti, God, I see it. Just have your way with me. You know what I need to do. You know what's going on at work. You know my bills. You know my situation. Just, I don't know what to do anymore. I'll just wait for your clear signs and inspiration and motivation to do whatever it is that I need to do. But otherwise, I'm just going to stay in my bed and feel what's coming up. And if nothing comes up, then I'll just rest in the peace and stillness. And so I gave myself full permission to just allow whatever comes up to be there without guilt, without guilt. And so what motivated me is that each of the sort of, I'll call it a session, each of the healing sessions where I would go into my bed, I would have stuff come up, it would pass. There would be a sense of relief on the other side of that. And that relief would have immense peace. Sometimes I would literally feel in my body like I had taken off like a heavy piece of clothing. I felt lighter. I looked around and I said, wow, I'm actually healing as I go through these feelings and emotions and memories and whatever's coming up. I'm actually resolving stuff. I'm actually overcoming things. So I said, I'm in on the process now. I get it. I'm getting the hang of this. I trust in what's happening here. So this is what motivated me because I said, why don't I just give my whole life to this process, knowing that at a certain point, the stuff that I'm healing is not a bottomless pit, it's finite. And when it's cleared, generally speaking, who will I be on the other side without having to carry all of this pain and trauma and fear and conditioning? I think it's worth it to just go through this temporary period of purification and healing so that on the other side I can feel just light and relieved. And clearly, God is with me. There was all this obvious signs and synchronicities, and sometimes there was a literal visions and things like that showing me that God is with me. So I said, okay, God will always be with me. On the other side of this process, God can have her way with me. And so that's what motivated me to keep doing it. I understood what was happening. I wasn't a victim when I was in bed going through this. I recognized I was being healed, I was being transformed. So that's what kept me in the game. Um, so it's very challenging, right? And we're all given different context that will push our buttons in different ways. It will bring us to our edge of doubt so that the doubt can be dissolved, right? And we're always moving deeper and deeper into further trust, further surrender, further deepening our relationship with the divine. And so we're pushed to our edge and are pushed to our limits just to go a little bit deeper, a little bit further. It's very challenging. It's very challenging. There are times where we may get some breaks, but I understand, Davina, it sounds like, you're really being pushed here. Um, just be gentle with yourself. You know, you're asking, for bravery and courage and to be willing to go through this, but just know you can't get it wrong as well. I wasn't perfect at even, what I just described. I'm speaking in very like simple terms. I wasn't perfect at it. There were times where I definitely left my room and tried to avoid the process. I definitely would, uh, you know, um, I remember just going to just talk to a friend about whatever, just to kind of escape this. And I remember stuff was coming up and I had to say, okay, I can't escape this anymore. I had to look at him and I said, I have to go. It's coming back. I have to go now. And, we had only started hanging out for like 20 minutes. And that was, I can't, I'm sorry. I have to go home and I had to leave. I had to go back home. I tried to escape. I tried all of that. So you can't get it wrong. I think the intelligence of this process also knows how we're going to approach it. It knows what we're going to do, and it's very compassionate understanding of that. How can you not try to escape or try to cope with this? It's so intense. It's so intense. So I think there's a lot of compassion here as well. You don't have to feel like you're you're not doing a good job. Whatever you're doing is how it's meant to unfold. Just continue in the best way that you can. You can make your own agreement, but ultimately, just being very gentle with yourself, knowing like there's already certain dates marked on the calendar where things are going to shift for you in very positive ways. It's destined. You can't get it wrong. You just have to participate in the process. So I hope my rambling there can mean something to you, Davina, and to others that might be going through similar uh, phases of the journey here. Just we just have to really understand where God is in our journey and contemplate that often. You're not alone through this. Like there is a very compassionate, loving force present with you always, trying to bring you into deeper and deeper union with it. That's what's happening here. That's what's happening in here. And it's not rushing you into that union. It's understanding that that's not an easy process. It's very, very understanding of that too. So, um, if you can relieve yourself of any pressure, that will help because God's not putting pressure on you like that. God will push you, but it's not a forceful pressure as if you're going to get it wrong. I hope that can help.
That was perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.